from all walks of life together as we attempt to reclaim masculinity and redefine community. In this conference, we bring together some of the greatest leaders from our community to inspire, strengthen, and to educate the men that attend the conference. This conference encourages men to develop relationships with one another, to get to know each other, and to support each other. Because masculinity isn't a destination, it's a journey, and we all need the help. So come join us Saturday, September the 28th, 2019, for the 3rd Annual Mastering Manhood Conference. This year's theme, Ground Zero, building the man from the ground up. Challenging,
educational, inspirational.
The Mastering Manhood Conference exists to bring men from all walks of life together as we attempt to reclaim masculinity and redefine community. In this conference, we bring together some of the greatest leaders from our community to inspire, strengthen, and to educate the men that attend the conference. This conference encourages men to develop relationships with one another, to get to know each other, and to support each other. Because masculinity isn't a destination, it's a journey, and we all need the help. So come join us Saturday, September the 28th, 2019, for the 3rd Annual Mastering Manhood Conference. This year's theme, Ground Zero, building the man from the ground up. Challenging,
Educational, inspirational.
The Mastering Manhood Conference exists to bring men from all walks of life together as we attempt to reclaim masculinity and redefine community. In this conference, we bring together some of the greatest leaders from our community to inspire, strengthen, and to educate the men that attend the conference. This conference encourages men to develop relationships with one another, to get to know each other, and to support each other. Because masculinity isn't a destination, it's a journey, and we all need the help. So come join us Saturday, September the 28th, 2019, for the 3rd Annual Mastering Manhood Conference. This year's theme, Ground Zero, building the man from the ground up. Challenging,
Educational, inspirational.
The Mastering Manhood Conference exists to bring men from all walks of life together as we attempt to reclaim masculinity and redefine community. In this conference, we bring together some of the greatest leaders from our community to inspire, strengthen, and to educate the men that attend the conference. This conference encourages men to develop relationships with one another, to get to know each other, and to support each other. Because masculinity isn't a destination, it's a journey, and we all need the help. So come join us Saturday, September the 28th, 2019, for the 3rd Annual Mastering Manhood Conference. This year's theme, Ground Zero, building the man from the ground up. Challenging,
Educational, inspirational.
The Mastering Manhood Conference exists to bring men from all walks of life together as we attempt to reclaim masculinity and redefine community. In this conference, we bring together some of the greatest leaders from our community to inspire, strengthen, and to educate the men that attend the conference. This conference encourages men to develop relationships with one another, to get to know each other, and to support each other. Because masculinity isn't a destination, it's a journey, and we all need the help. So come join us Saturday, September the 28th, 2019, for the 3rd Annual Mastering Manhood Conference. This year's theme, Ground Zero, building the man from the ground up. Challenging,
Educational, inspirational.
The Mastering Manhood Conference exists to bring men from all walks of life together as we attempt to reclaim masculinity and redefine community. In this conference, we bring together some of the greatest leaders from our community to inspire, strengthen, and to educate the men that attend the conference.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Doom.
What's up, world? We back at it, baby. Live and direct, the locker room. Thanks for tuning in. Before we even get started, share, watch, share. We got heavyweighters on here again. We right back at it, baby. It's a beautiful weekend. Shout out to Sean Mitchell, man. You came through with a classic last week, brother. I love you and thank you. Chris Clack, my good and cookies. It was a blessed week. Moving forward, man, I got some heavy hitters in here. I got Worldwide Bobby Mack, known by the Mac Facts, known by Big Boy May. I mean, there's so many labels on that boy. He a heavyweight. We ready to give y'all an interesting show. I got brother Minister Robert Muhammad in here. Gonna drop some real signs. Shout out to all my Nation of Islam brothers and sisters that follow too. I got Darwin Hamilton in here, Arthur. Straight out of Austin, Texas, 5th generation Austin Texanite. You understand? Then I got my baby, Imani Alexis. How you want to say it? How we saying it today? Make me say it correctly. I said it the wrong way because I want you to say it so they hear your voice.
Alexa Imani.
Alexia Imani, fresh graduate from where? The University of?
Howard University.
HBCU. Stand up. Stand up. So we got the young ladies in here representing. As I told y'all been asking for women to come on the show. We ready. We ready. We're going to keep producing. We got youngins that believe and understand the mission. But without further ado, Worldwide B with his green on.
I'm invisible, right?
What's up, world?
What's up, everybody? I want to give a shout out to all the graduates in the high schools. That was a blessing. It was a lesson. And now you're at the beginning of your journey on after high school. So some of y'all gonna wish y'all could come back, and some of y'all don't want to come back. But that day gonna come up too. So I just want to say, man, thank you, LBJ again for all the ones who walked across the stage.
Yes.
I used to say no more minimum wage, but I want you, you adults out there, kiss your babies, man. Kiss your babies, and that was a journey. The high school, 11, 12 is very serious. That these kids, I hope that they got a different outlook on life than a lot of other people do, and don't have a chance to. But shout out to all the graduates for just coming through every high school, man. That was a big congratulations on that. We're gonna get right to it. Brother Muhammad. We went to school with each other. We've been knowing each other a very, very long time.
Yeah.
You used to look good, brother. Man, you still look the same to me.
Yes.
And that's a
Thank you,
blessing.
thank you. Yes,
You know
sir.
what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's a blessing, man.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna jump right to it. I'm gonna be real with you. You know, I don't cut no corners because that ain't right. Now when we being real
don't
on the
cut 'em,
show,
that's right.
You
Don't
know what I
cut 'em.
mean? You know what I'm saying?
That wouldn't be B-Mac. That wouldn't
Right.
be worldwide.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Why the Nation of Islam?
Oh man, that's a great question. That's a long question.
Okay.
That's good. It's
I
your
mean,
show.
it's a short question, but it's a long answer.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can make it as short as possible, you know, we grew up in the late 80s, early 90s.
True that.
And, you know, every generation has its set of challenges that it has to face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's ups and downs. But, you know, growing up, coming from East Austin, Booker T. Washington, Springdale Garden, and then, you know, migrating over to Northeast, going to LBJ,
Right.
we had things going on in the world and the society. And, you know, we grew up, I was in high school during the times of the Rodney King verdict.
Mm-hmm.
We was listening to music that came from Public Enemy, Fight the Power, Poor Righteous Teachers,
Right.
Big Daddy Kane, and
Rakim,
Eric B. and Rakim.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on, and
Woke
we can
Scholar Rock.
the music had messages in them,
Mm-hmm.
and those messages were embedded in our psyche and our subconscious, and they would come back and replay at a specific time period.
Right.
And so during those times, as a young man, I, like many of us, most of the brothers I knew growing up, you know, they got into dope trafficking, and y'all know, you know,
Yep.
it wasn't too many brothers that was coming to the J that didn't have knots in their pocket, you know,
Come on.
that wasn't riding on
Keep it
30s
real.
at that
Keep it
time,
real.
That was
you
the
know,
peak of the game. We
uh,
saw it happen.
Yeah.
and so I reached a point in my life as a young man where I needed some guidance, and I had fallen really low in my life, and I was angry with society, and I was angry, to be quite honest with you. My father had some issues, and my father was always around, but it was during one particular time period in my life where my father and my mother split up, and I started doing some things that I was not raised to do.
How did that affect
And-
you? How did that affect you?
Man, I was angry, and I didn't know that I was angry until years later. And, you know, I started doing things that my parents just found out I was doing about 5 to 10 years ago. You know, I you know, we had, you know, partners and people we went to school with, and we got into a little jack game and robbing people and doing things like that. And I had no reason to get engaged in such activity, but it lasted a short period of time. But I found out that I was just angry because I'd always had my father around, and he had a bout with drugs, and I didn't know how to deal with that, you know. And so out of all of the people that I grew up with, I was one of those few that had their pops around.
Right.
You know,
True.
so when he fell away,
and
you know,
myself.
I grew up in church. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? I
right,
was a
right.
junior deacon. I sang in the
Right.
choir, but there was something about the, you know, we used to sing that song, "Give Me That Old Time Religion."
Right.
See, the black church at a specific point in time was a major contributor to the black community. When we emerged out of slavery,
There you go.
when we wanted, when we went to public school and were turned around, we started schools in the churches. When we wanted social equality, we had meetings and we strategized in the basement of the black church. When we wanted to gather our financiers and we wanted to finance black business in the black community, we went through in the role of the parishioners, and the church was made available for all of these things. And so we built our community from the black church.
So
Make
it's-
no mistake about it.
That's real.
But
That's real.
I had reached a time in my life and where now that I look back, I feel like some of the message that I was receiving about Jesus and spirituality and religion was not being presented in a masculine way. And so when I had difficulties as a young black male in America, it was the Nation of Islam that addressed those issues. When I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, my first time hearing him was during an interview on the show Donahue. And it was, the white audience was very angry and they were vicious, but he was poised, and he kept his poise, and he just delivered back knowledge with facts. And I remember I was in the kitchen cooking a pork chop. My brother put it on, and I looked around the corner, and to be honest with you, this is what I said: man, who is that nigga?
Yeah, straight up.
Who is that feels like he has the gall, the unmitigated gall to address white people like that, and to stand firm, right? And so it was from that. My brother, I thank God for him. My brother Cedric gave me the book, the autobiography of Malcolm X, and that's where it all began. And so, shout out to my big brother, Cedric Muhammad. And so,
funny man.
Very funny jokes for days. But it was through his guidance and his leadership. At one point, I was at a fork in the road to make a decision at the age of 18, where after studying the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for just a short time, but I was still in high school, and I was still attracted or around drug trafficking with my relatives and the people I grew up with. And at one point, I found myself with a Holy Quran in my closet on the shelf. And I call it a dope boy starter kit, a 20-pack, sitting at the bottom in one of my pair of shoes, and I had to make the decision whether I was going to pursue what was enclosed in this book or whether I was going to pursue delivering this substance to my people. And, my parents put so much into us that I made the decision, not totally, because something else happened in my life that really made me get on that. But I felt that the spirit in black men in America was being addressed, and that I could be a black man, but I could still be spiritual with my nation. And so everywhere I looked, whether it was in California and LA and New York and Atlanta and Chicago and Houston, I saw men that looked like me that was a part of this network. And it just drew me in. And so I'm grateful, and I got to say all praises due to Allah God that I'm still here today, and I'm standing, and it's because of that I'm in the condition. But make no mistake about it, we all have had some ups and downs.
Yes, that's life.
But there was something internal and inside of me that was about to erupt that would have put me in a whole different place than where we are today.
And that's my thing when I see you, brother, and I love you. You know how we come back from the mud, way back. But the Nation of Islam for Ray Jackson is so powerful because I'm a Christian. You know what I'm saying? GMZ, Greater Mount Zion. But
shout out.
I've seen so many of my young brothers' lives saved by the Nation of Islam. From Austin, Texas, all the way to Michigan and in between. Absolutely. The Nation of Islam has transformed some of my brothers' life that was teetering on the edge of death or the penitentiary, bro. So I got mad respect. And Farrakhan, man, I feel like you. He was extremely powerful, drew my attention, dropped a lot of science, and I watched him and studied him. Shout out to my man, Jamon Muhammad, Big J. The world knows him as Big J. He one of my first brothers to jump out there in the nation. So I'm extremely proud of you. So through that transition, did you get any backlash from anybody when you started that transition, my brother, early in the game? How was that process?
Absolutely, man. Like I said, I grew up in church.
Right.
So being a rebellious young man, a fool, if you would, learning this new body of knowledge, I immediately turned against what I was raised to believe. Because you're immature and you don't really understand what you've received in your hand. And so, I grew up in a family full of preachers. And I'll never forget when my father got himself back together. He came home, and his first mandate, because we was in it, my brother and I, we was on that block grinding with them Final Call newspapers, suited and booted, like I am right now.
Yeah.
And
ain't no secret.
my pop said, look, he professed his call to the ministry. He said, man, look, if y'all gonna live in my house, y'all gotta go to church every Sunday. Which we didn't really have a problem with, but I was angry because he was gone for a year and a half.
And then you just come.
So, you get a certain age, the old folks say you start smelling yourself.
Yeah.
But he put me in my place quick, But my parents, grandparents, father, mother, y'all going to hell. It ain't no way around it. Them folks gonna kill you, like they did Malcolm. What's some other things? Y'all ain't eating no pork no more. Big Mama lived to be 90. She ate pork.
Don't say that next to worldwide, because he's healthy too.
I already know. That's why. You know what I'm saying? I already know.
Worldwide ready for that.
But so there was a lot of flack. But being, rebellion in a world that is in opposition to righteousness, a lot of times can be good. And so that's why we see a lot of the young folks that we can't, sometimes we wonder why they go in the direction that they're going, because what they hear from some of our mouths is they hear fear, they hear selling out, they hear judgment, they hear all of these things and their ears closed. Because guess what? We was standing in their shoes just a few years ago. So while we getting in the pulpit now and behind the rostrum, behind a fig leaf, trying to hide what we used to do, when we should take a position of understanding and guide this young man, and understand they are not what we used to be, because they live in a different time, and they are facing things that we never faced.
Right.
So to be understanding and to guide them, and so, but yeah, we gotta. It is what it is, and so, but
What helped you stay focused through that all, especially getting it internally, from your parents? That's a tough one. How did you stay focused from that one? Did y'all move out?
When you ain't had no money, you know what I'm saying?
But you do.
It was a compromise, right? Yeah. I could have went out there and got that bread, right? Yeah. But we worked it out some kind of way. I don't remember exactly how, but all in all, I felt like I was a good young man, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna tell you what helped me stay. The Holy Quran talks about something called the shock of the hour, right? Something that God will do to get your attention, stop you in your tracks, and that's what I was foreshadowing or mentioning earlier. In 1992, when Big Earl was killed, we were, for me, we had just graduated 1992. We didn't have a senior trip that year. Y'all messed it up for us.
That was us.
He said, I'm sorry. Y'all messed it up for us. So we didn't have a senior trip that year. So we was supposed to go to New Orleans, Mardi Gras. We decided just to shoot down to Houston, Texas.
That was a horrible summer, though, bro.
Yeah.
We had a rough summer.
Yeah, Cedric Sutton.
Go ahead, though.
And anyway, man, we ended up getting into it with some cats at a club. And this is when I was coming into the nation, and something told me, we not at home.
Right.
I didn't mind fighting.
Yeah.
But when you see 20 dudes coming off the wall and they walking around your car, and it's one dude with his hand behind his back the whole time, he ain't saying nothing. So people watch them people that's doing this, but I watch the people that ain't saying nothing.
Right.
So I said, man, let's leave, man. We're not, let's just, let's. And Big Earl was always down for the cause, and that was my brother, So
he was the gentle giant, though.
You already know. So
Big Earl, go
yeah,
ahead, man.
And Cat ended up coming catching us at a stoplight and shot the car. Now, for me, that experience, because when we went back to the car to get our belongings out of the car, because Earl gets shot multiple times, he's killed. Heath gets shot twice. They transport him to the hospital. They think he's going to die. Andre Knox he don't know it, but he has a ricochet lodged under his scalp. He don't find out till like a week or two later when he has these massive headaches.
Right.
I'm the only person in the car don't get a scratch. Big Earl on the side of me, he gets shot multiple times. All of the windows get shot out except where I'm sitting, right? It's bullet. It looked like we went to Beirut.
Man.
There's blood all over the car. I mean, just turned 19.
Right. Fresh out of high school.
I'm stunned, right? But when I looked back and my mind replayed everything, something touched me, and I had to make a decision at that point. You know, something touched me, and I said, "You were preserved for a reason." How is it that many bullets are released from more than one weapon, but only though one person was convicted, right? He's still incarcerated to this day, but you not hit one time. So that said something to me. It spoke to me, and I made the decision at that time. And I say to this day that was the conception of Robert Muhammad at that particular time period. And so that was my shock of the hour. And that made me pick up every book around. That made me become more disciplined.
That's a powerful car that you was in, though, because Andre Knox, shout out Heath Muhammad and Andre Knox. Me and Heath Muhammad started way back, Little League track. BJ Striders, boy, we cutting up my daddy coaching back in the game. We was baby boys, about 9, 10 years old. His brothers ran track for my daddy.
Right.
Andre Knox, you know, we've been knowing them forever. His sister was tragically lost in high school, and he's seen some powerful stuff at a young age. That's a powerful vehicle, man. And for God to sustain you through that, bro, that's amazing, man. Because that's something. That was a tragic year for us, brother.
But I mean, the understanding is this, man, that when you look at the universe, we've been taught certain aspects of the universe in our lessons.
Right. We
understand that the universe and the diameter of the universe is 76 quintillion miles. We understand that the Earth is 196,940,000 square miles, made up of 139,685,000 square miles of water, with 57,255,000 square miles of land coming up out of that water. And this ball of clay, the third rock from the sun, gets hit by one ray of light traveling at 186,000 miles per second, getting to the Earth at 8 minutes and 20 seconds or 500 seconds, sends it spinning on its axis at 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. Why are you mentioning all of that? Because as fast as light is and sound and the Earth, the average speed of thought is 24 billion miles per second. So there's nothing more powerful than a made-up mind. So when the mind is made up,
it's done.
It's a done deal. So when the mind is made up, inventions, bottled water comes into place. Big Boy Made comes into play.
That's right.
The Fab Five comes into existence.
Big Boy Made.
You know what I'm saying? 25 years later becomes a reality in a book, and we come into existence. And so that was the opportunity for me to make up my mind. And so, and that's what I tell youngsters and everybody, that it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. It doesn't matter what they say. If you can find a way to make your mind up, nobody can change that if you lock it in. And so, right or wrong. So if you make your mind up for the positive thing or the righteous thing, you can achieve that, even if you make it up for the. Man, look, if I was gonna go out in them streets, I was gonna go get it,
and that's what it was.
And I was gonna get it. So I was gonna get that bread like the brothers, but I was gonna also get, what was gonna come at the end like everybody else.
So what you telling me is process. So what you just told me was
I love it.
A thought is a seed.
That's right.
A thought is a seed. But if you put feelings behind the seed, it will come to material.
That's right.
And it'll manifest.
That's right. That's right.
Process.
That's right. So that's why.
Say, man, what you do with my flag? Hey, man, look, y'all know I don't shoot no fake game. All this knowledge, this out of LBJ, Texas, baby. I told you, man,
right there,
it was okay to have a whole lot of alpha males around you. You wasn't in fear of that, bro. We love having knowledge. See, that's what they don't want us to understand, man, and I get right to it. It's so much power that come up out our community, man. There's so many survivors. There's so many leaders that come up out this community. It's ridiculous. We got to embrace and support that. You're going to hear me every week say that, man. Shout out to the Nation of Islam, man. I got Darwin Hamilton coming in, and I got my baby girl, Imani Alexis. Say your name.
Alexa Imani.
She's so every time. I love it, baby. We're going to bring this book back in a minute. Yeah. Brother Muhammad's going to be here, Minister Muhammad, and we're going to keep chewing it up, man. Be Mac. We're going to come back with them Mac facts. You ready to drop it on? You know, the world is going crazy behind that drink,
it's fine,
brother.
Though. It's fine.
The drink.
I need to let them know. A lot of people was like, well, how many times I drink it? And all that. I'm finna let you know right after we drink, man. I'm finna let you know what this KO do and super greens and all that other stuff do for you, man.
Shout out to the readers. Shout out to the guys that don't waste their mind on BS. Shout out to the boys that grow.
Yeah, man.
The men and women that like to read, man. We about to end this first quarter. We got the flag in play and it's just warming up, man. We're going to keep having heavy hitters. Stay tuned. Share, watch, comment. We got the locker room, baby. Come back and see us in a second.
Players on the team
Perfect.
that wasn't the best player. You was like,
I mean, before?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, you was like one of the worst players. Not saying worst, but you wasn't as good as the other ones.
Yeah, freshman year, you know, we were all the same. And then I just sophomore and junior year.
I mean, what I'm saying is, what made that transition? Like, what went inside of you and said, no, man, I'm not finna have this? Was it the competition level? Was it?
It was just junior year. I was small. I mean, you know, I was way smaller than what I was right now, and I was like, I need to go to college. I was like, I need to go to college. One way or another, it's either gonna be school or I can't stay small, and I'm not gonna let nobody push me around no more. So. After football season, I came to school. My grades went down. I got in a fight, and I got sent to ALC. And when I was at ALC, I was like, yeah, this is. There was something close to jail, but it wasn't like that. But I was like, I don't want this. I don't need this. When I got out, I was there for like a month or two. When I got out, I just lifted weights every day for like 4 to 5 hours, every Monday through Sunday, every day, and I just started getting bigger and bigger and shit. Football came around in the season. I said, I'm gonna start whatever that shit. They were like, you're gonna be my middle linebacker. I was back, so then I gotta get big. So I just kept lifting harder and harder, and I was like, I'm gonna go to college. I need to go to college. If I'm gonna go to college, I need to go out there and play hard.
And that was so what I'm saying is this. Certain people ask me, they say, what's Big Boy made like that? You know, Nike is just do it. Under Armour is protect his house. Big Boy Made stands for mindset of achievements. Mindset of achievements. What you do, you set your mind to something and you achieved it. You see what I mean? So you gotta understand what draws you to me. It was the whole thing, bro. When God gave me that, and then he said, once I give you something, others gonna see it and they gonna draw near you just like.
I was like, I see success.
Yeah, you see
I see
it.
success.
But not only that, it just drew you, bro. You was like, Big Boy Made. And you didn't even know the definition of it. But now you do. So you know what I mean? So this is what I'm trying to tell you, like, from here on out, you know you can do something. You know that you don't need to be at the bottom, right? So what I'm saying is what a lot of people can't do is they can't transition. They always come with reasons. You know, excuses. The champions come with results.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? See, people, it's like I tell my little league football team, and they, man, they, you know, they little guys, you know, and I love them, and I tell them this: we're not running trick plays. We coming right
at them. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So and it's just like in the streets, bro. I don't go around you to get where I'm going. I come right at you. Cause that's who I'm dealing with. You ain't no good from this way. You ain't no good from that way, and we damn sure ain't no good from behind. But if I come at you and you say, you defeated me, you gonna say, but he looked me right in my eyes when he did.
It wasn't no problem.
So you respect me, you know what I mean? So that's other people gotta respect. You see what I'm saying? So from this point on, I don't never ever wanna hear he couldn't do it. Cause you just showed yourself that you could. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got a bright future. You got one. And it don't matter what you do. Even if you didn't go to college, you still gonna prevail in something.
Yeah, I know.
You feel me?
I got everything planned already.
You're right. So
you got a college.
So you know what I do? You know what made me successful? When I wrote it down and I read it every day. And I still do.
Like that's what I want.
And so what that do is it make you fight more. Cause you looking at other people like, he did it. What? How did he do it? And the main thing that I want to just spread the youth in the love is your why. I just heard Ray and them in the classroom and it was good. They all said their values, what their value was in life. But neither one of them said they value themselves. It's hard for you to value other things if you don't value yourself.
So yeah, we right back. Second quarter, man. Locker room. How y'all doing out there, man? Thanks for supporting us, man. We so excited about this platform. We thank God for the opportunity, but we thank our guests and the people that are tuning in, man. We done had some powerful lineups up here. Let me shout out BMR. Young Donald Dallas, you know I came through for you today, boy. Yeah. I normally don't wear myself, but shoot, it was such an honor and a privilege, boy. Hey, Ike Nash, Lil Braylon Cannon, man, I love y'all for holding me down. Yes, we getting them socks this week. We heading to H-Town, too. We gonna bust some heads with them little fellas. We heading to H-Town, so I'm gonna rep with them black BMR socks on them boys this weekend. Shout out to Donald Dallas and BMR. We coming back, B-Mac. I don't know if you want to introduce my man, Darwin Hamilton. But I'm already on it, and I got the book in front of me, man. Another legend from East Austin, Texas, man. I want you to hear the story. I want you to get to know the man. I want you to get out and support what the man is doing. Powerful. None but knowledge and wisdom. Plug in. None other than Darwin Hamilton, author, activist, leader in the community, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to open like I opened the first page of the book. I was born in 1973, which is the year the Mac and the Superfly films on East 11th Street, what used to be called the Blade or the Host Roll and the track. So that's kind of where my story begins in this life, but also it has a historical context in that my family bought that land right after Reconstruction in the 1870s. My great-grandfather, my second great-grandfather, Thomas Jedrick, was a slave here in Travis County, and he would pass that property down to my great-grandfather, William Thomas Dedrick. And he would pass it down to my grandmother, Jewel Dedrick, who would marry my grandfather, Huel Hamilton, and he would pass it down to my father, James Hamilton, who was an educator here in AISD and was a musician and photographer. And so contrary to that narrative that we often hear about people whose lives get involved with crime, my father, we were working class people. My mother was an administrative person. But one thing that we have to realize is that despite having that background, I was still exposed to a lot of nefarious things. Like I said, growing up on East 11th Street, a lot of y'all are young and probably don't realize it. But 11th Street was known for pimping and prostitution and drugs in the 70s and the 80s. And then in the late 80s and 90s, crack came and devastated our communities. And so I met this brother back in 1985, 86 at O. Henry High School. And then we reconnected at LBJ, so we're all family here, about the same age. These are my peers. And so they know my story. I mean, they saw me in school, but I've often been what's called a silent assassin because I wasn't that guy that was always doing that talking. Yes. I'm just going to show you better than I can tell you. That's right. And so my life took a turn similarly with the point of identification when he talked about our classmate Earl. You know, because I knew these brothers just like they knew me, but I was doing some things and I wasn't talking about it. And so while I was in high school, I was living a dual life, a life in the streets and the game, but I was also going to school because my father was an educator. So I had these dual roles to where you just couldn't figure this guy out. Well, what's going on with him? Well, I mean, I had an older brother who was pimping since '85, and he's someone who laced me, you know. And he also went to LBJ.
Now, I don't mean to but when you say there's some young people out here.
Right, they
when
don't
he say
understand.
pimping since '85, he talking about some real the
Hardcore.
real
Right.
profession.
Yeah.
He ain't
No,
talking about this
that's-
this talk.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not
Real
talking
talk.
about rap
Right.
videos. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? I'm really talking about
Making
having
real
them
money.
down,
There you go.
having them down on the concrete, as we say.
Yes.
So that's kind of where I came in at the age of 15 or 16. So we're talking about 30 years ago, really. Before, you know, the slab riders. I mean, I actually saw the pimps who had those cars in the year. You know what I'm saying? In 85, 86, 89, they was rolling Broms brand new in the year 10 deep, 5 deep. So you know, you're recycling what came from the wisdom of the pimping, right?
Yes.
When we talk about slab riders, that's where that came from. It was inspired by the pimping.
Knowledge.
But now,
Knowledge.
I came in through, you know, the players. You know, most of my peers I was 15, they was 20, they was 25. So I really didn't run with guys my age. And so during my high school term, I mean, I was a good student. I'm very bright. And so I wasn't failing classes or none of that, but I was still involved in those streets. So my life, I can say, really shifted. That year that we graduated and Earl got killed, I remember coming to his memorial, and something that always stood out to me during his memorial service was when the brother from Houston, Robert Muhammad, came and they gave everybody those peppermints. And they said, you know, as his peppermint wears down, these are the trials and tribulations of Earl's life. And even though he's gone, you still have that aftertaste of that peppermint. That's Earl.
It's crazy.
And so that was something, man, that really resonated, but I wasn't trying to hear it because I was so immersed at that time. And then it all came to an end on September the 1st of 1992, which is the genesis of this book 25 years later, because my house was raided with a task force and I was charged with possession of a controlled substance with the intent to deliver in tax evasion. And so during the course of that raid and that search and seizure, I would later learn during my pretrial that there wasn't a confidential informant that used marked or recorded money. There was no surveillance of a drug buy. So, you know, I'm one of those people, man, I just can't accept anything. So I went to jury trial. And one of the things the prosecutor said during my trial was, do you see how articulate he is? This is what makes him dangerous.
That's right. That's
And
right.
I want you to consider giving him 45 years. And so the jury would sentence me to 22 and a half years in prison. This would be March of 93. So when I'm talking about 25 years later, I'm talking about the title of this book, The Sentence from Crime to Redemption, Advocacy, and Leadership, because my journey has taken place over the past course of these, which would be 27 years, 28 years come September. And as a young person, getting sentenced to 22 and a half years is going to make you sit down and do some serious reflection. But one of the things I want to go back to, when we hear white people say, do you see how articulate he is? This is what makes him dangerous. What he was doing was criminalizing and weaponizing my intelligence.
That's right.
And we know historically where that comes from because you know, during Reconstruction, whites resented the social, political, and economic gains of African Americans who became successful. And they did anything and everything in their power to hinder that. So he basically thought that he was going to destroy me and bury me, because when they convict us, this is how they bury us, and basically what I call a judicial lynching. Because this was to make an example out of me for anybody that was an onlooker, just like lynching, because this is to strike fear in the hearts of black men and women from ever exercising your rights to due process.
Now let me ask you this, bro. Man, y'all got some
knowledge right here.
Man, y'all boys got me so in tune. I don't even want to ask no questions. I just want to let the panel talk. But let me ask you this: in that process, you were 19 at the time.
I was 19, man. I was fresh out.
Who else got caught up in that situation with you? They say they can't be your home. Was that your mother, father?
No,
who was set up in that situation?
My father was doing some substitute teaching at the time, and it was me and my brother and my nephew, who will be 28 this June. So they came in on us, man, with their task force and AKs and all of that, you know, the full nine. Like they say, you got to be really doing something when they come to you like that. And I often reflect about that because with police violence now that we see, my life didn't flash before my eyes then that I would die, but now I don't think I would be as fortunate. Here we are at this day and age because we just had a different culture of policing then, even in the height of the war on drugs.
Right.
You know. Right. So these are things that I reflect on in this memoir, and I talk about it because I've had a number of run-ins with the police during my high school years that didn't necessarily lead to me going to prison until after I got out. After I got out of high school, and so you know, I ended up doing 5.5 years in prison and 17 years on parole. So I didn't get off parole until 2015 as a 42-year-old man. You know, but again, you know, he thought he was going to destroy me, and lesser men would crumble. You know, so here I am today. You know,
so let me throw that out.
Yeah,
that's
so,
the replay. But
that's
every time you see that,
man. You see that?
Say that again. What kind of man would do what?
Lesser men would crumble.
That's right.
I love it, boy.
You know, that's where that grit and that resilience comes in. You know, so I'm still here today.
That's right.
You know, and I mean, I'm doing some things that I never would have imagined that I would be doing, and things that he wouldn't even imagine that I'm doing. So all those people who discount us, you know what I'm saying, they got us all wrong.
Hey,
you know,
man, and I think back when because y'all were a year behind me, but when I look at you now, you always been the laid back, smooth, quiet dude. You was always doing. That boy might come to school with slacks on and all that.
Mike,
you know, that's what I'm saying. But you know what I mean?
He didn't own nothing else. What I'm saying.
Well, I'm telling you, I know that. That boy was cold. But let me tell you this about 11th Street, bro. This is the God honest truth. This had to be like 86 because I wasn't even at the J then. Me and my partners, that's back when they had the Aquafest. You know what I'm saying? So we done took one of my partners' people's car, south side. We drive to the east side. We coming over there hollering at our people. We go kick it on 11th Street, and it's the first time I ever saw a tranny in 86, bruh. I mean, the dude was beautiful. The dude walked up to the car and said, "Hey, what y'all need?" I said, Go, it's a man." I screaming. I said, "It's a man." We just drove out, bro. But what he telling is the truth, man. Eastside Austin, Texas, historical area, man. If you ever get a chance to come through and visit it, but know the history when you come through and visit. There's some black hotels there where only blacks could stay. One of the only places blacks could stay in Central Texas is housed in that area. So it's a powerful industry and a powerful area. Back to what you're talking about, brother. So right now, your position in the community and what you're fighting for and what you're doing right now. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, currently, man, I didn't get involved in criminal justice reform until about 2011 and 2012. You know what I mean? Because I was kind of just, you know, keeping a low profile, going to work every day, doing that thing. And then I heard this Chicano brother on the radio, and I always give him recognition because he was talking on KZI, and he was talking about how he had spent 27 years incarcerated, and he had become a policy analyst for the Texas Criminal Justice Coalition, writing bills and passing laws. And I'm saying to myself, damn, you know, what am I doing? So, you know, it's something that I can lend to this cause. And I had to go meet him. And once I went and met him, and they were starting an organization back then called the Ex-Offenders Council, which is now the Reentry Advocacy Project that I lead, because many of us are coming in back and re-entering society as being formerly incarcerated people. But the main thing is to change the shame and the stigma, because often we don't talk about it. And so our parents and our family and our peers will say, oh, well, you know, he's on vacation, or, you know, he's in California, or he's in school, you know what I'm saying? And what I call that is an internalized social oppression due to fear and shame and stigma to talk about, hey,
man, you got me ready to use all my replays.
You know, I'd have been to prison.
I like that. Say that again for me.
Yeah, because it's shame and stigma and what's an internalized social oppression. Because we don't want to talk about our sons and our nephews and our daughters and our mothers and our fathers.
That cover up. You know what I mean, brother?
Exactly. So, you know, I'm basically a living, breathing refutation against all of that. You know what I'm saying?
That's
because if I didn't tell you I went to prison, you wouldn't even know.
That's right.
You understand?
Right.
So that's the whole power in telling your own stories and your own narratives.
Right.
And so that's kind of what the genesis of this book is, to where I don't live in fear and shame or
Man,
stigma
that's what
of
I'm
talking about what I've done, you know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
that empowers me and it inspires somebody else
Yes.
who's going through that same thing. Because I can tell you, people said, man, when you go up there, you know, messing with them white folks, this is what's gonna happen. I said, well, I don't give a damn, man.
Yeah,
you know, I'm gonna stand on it.
That's right.
And so, you know, they said you ain't gonna be able to do all that time. Well, hey, I did it. Here I am.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? So that's really how I got involved with criminal justice reform. I mean, I'm working at the legislature. I mean, we just had a legislative session in case you're not paying attention. And it's laws and things that have been passed and that directly impact us. For example, for the people who have criminal backgrounds or a record, you know, it was me and others and folks in my organizations who basically got the city of Austin to pass a fair chance hiring ordinance that would remove the question on private employers' applications, have you ever been convicted of a felony? And would allow you to interview and not do a background check until a conditional offer is being made. But I mean, these things don't just happen. You know what I'm saying? It's people that make these things happen. You know, so you know, there's a quote that I heard. You know, justice isn't something that just falls from the sky.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? It's what people of goodwill make happen. It's something that you have to. It's something you have to do.
Say that again, brother. I need my people.
One more time.
Justice doesn't fall from the sky or the heavens because we say we believe in it. You know what I'm saying? Justice happens because people of goodwill make it happen. It's something that you got to do.
That's right.
You know, so that's what I'm out here doing, and basically I'm doing this in my volunteer capacity. I don't get paid.
So tell them where they can find you. Tell them where, if they're looking for those, my guys and family members that are interested in that kind of service.
Know your last name again.
The book,
Darwin
everything.
Hamilton. You can find this book on Amazon.com in Kindle and paperback formats. You know, the Kindle version is $2.99. The paperback is $15. You can also follow me on Twitter at DHAM629 or DHAM629. Also, reach out to me on Facebook.
Awesome. Powerful,
Awesome.
brother.
Powerful, man.
Powerful, man. Hey, we're going to get to it. We're going to keep moving. We got my baby in here. Imani Alexis. Imani. Hey, baby, I get comfortable right here because I got the queens in here. I got some kings in here, and I got a young queen in here, man. I'm going to let her tell us her story, introduce herself.
Thank you.
Young grad.
Thank you.
This is the kind of young lady in our seriousness that I would want my daughter to be mentored by.
Yes.
You understand? And be inspired by and hear this young woman's story. She's powerful, you good people. Tune in, share, watch, listen, love. Introduce yourself, beautiful.
Well, thank you for having me. First of all, I really appreciate that. It's a great way to be welcome home. So my name is Alexa Imani Spencer. I'm a recent graduate of Howard University, where I studied journalism and Afro-American studies.
What?
That's
Yes.
what's up.
What? So what took you, where you from? Where'd you go to high school? Because I got questions for you, girl.
I went to Cedar Ridge High School.
Where's Cedar Ridge?
That's in Round Rock.
Round Rock. Oh, you didn't go to LBJ.
No, I did not.
So how did we meet? How did me and you meet? How do I know you?
Well, I might as well start with the journey, you know.
Yeah, that's where I want to go. Let's go to the journey.
Getting to the roots, my people are from Pensacola, Florida.
Okay.
So that's northern Florida. It's a little bit outside of Alabama. You know, for those who are unfamiliar, that's where all my people are from. From what I know, you know, as many generations back as I can go. So my mother, when she conceived me, she already had my older brother with her, and she made a decision. You know, at some point, something is going to have to change for our family. And so, seeking opportunity, she picked up everything and she came to Texas. And we lived in a number of different places in Texas, but we settled in Central Texas. And so, that's where I really had my upbringing. Yeah, so that's where I had my upbringing. It's where I went to school. My personal journey at the age of 4 is when I began to write. So that's my gift.
At the age of what?
Of 4.
Come on now, that's cold.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The age of 4, I started writing poetry because my mother is a poet. And so watching her, you know, she's really who I wanted to emulate.
Man.
Every time I saw her on the weekend, she'd drop us off at Granny house. I'm like, Mom, where you going? You know, she dressed up, I'm going to a poetry slam. You know, and this is just what I do. And so I really respected that and I honored it because it's who she was. So I started writing poetry myself at that age, and at some point it grew into creative writing. So by the time I was in like 3rd grade, I'm writing 30, 40, 60-page novels on the floor of my classroom.
What grade?
3rd grade. And that's
Beautiful.
I have to thank,
beautiful.
I have to thank my teacher, Miss Maurer, because she gave me a great environment to do that. So I moved forward with that gift, and I just started. Yes, thank you to the teachers. I started striding in it because it just felt right, you know. And at some point, it wasn't just academic or imagination; it became my leverage. It's what I used to keep myself, because at some point in my life, my family, it started getting tough. My home life got tough. So I turned to my journals, and they just started stacking up and stacking up and stacking up. So by the time I reached high school, I started writing for my school's newspaper. And this was in the midst of the Black Lives Matter movement. So when Trayvon Martin got shot and his life was taken, I felt like there was something I had to do. So I pitched a story to my teacher about writing about race relations on our campus, because they were not the best, to be quite honest. And so at that point, I became the first student journalist to do that. And the story was published after going through a process. And I knew in that moment, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to use my power of the pen, as Miss Ida B. Wells would say, use the power of the pen to change the world. That's right. You know? And so I became a junior. Things were still rough at home, very rough. As I mentioned to you all, my family, we were homeless for 4 years, my entire time in high school. Yes, homeless. We did not have a stable place to meet, to congregate, to build, to pray, to love. So trying to keep it all together, I called my godfather, you know, Jock Gordon.
Who is that, the dude I want to beat up? What's his name again?
Jock Gordon, don't beat up my godfather.
I got a love on this dude.
Jock.
Go ahead, keep talking. We're going to talk about Big Jock in a minute. Love you, boy.
Person, and a native of Austin. You know, he really took me under his wing, and so I began living with my godparents, my god family. And at that time, I'm just trying to work, get my money. You know, I'm a junior. I don't really know what I want to do with my life, but I know I want to take some direction. So he calls me in the kitchen one night, and, you know, he's sitting at the island with his laptop. He's like, hey, you know, you ever thought about college? I'm like, yeah, kind of. You know, I had a slight attitude because I wasn't in the right mind, you know, at that time. The perspective was different. Yeah, the perspective was different. It wasn't nurtured yet. So I said, you know, I've thought about it. I've thought about it. And he said, okay, well, you're going to come sit down and we're going to figure this out. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to go to school, there are 2 things that I need to require. One, it needs to be an HBCU. I need an education that is totally centered around who I am. That's right. Because
we can get to the school too.
You know, just feeling things, I felt a little empty, you know, and it's because I didn't really know who I was. So the second thing is that I wanted to go out of state. I love Texas, but I'm like, I need to fly. You know, there's somewhere else I need to be. So we looked through schools. TSU was on the list. I was like, okay, if I stay in Texas, I'm going to go to TSU, but what else do you have? And so he said, have you heard of Howard? And I remember standing there in that moment. I hadn't even sat down. I was standing up the whole time, and he was sitting down. And I said, I think I have, but, you know, can you pull up some information? So he pulled up the website on his laptop, and as soon as I looked at it, I saw a banner. It was a black student. It was 2 black students, a young man and a young woman, and they were leaning on a red, and a blue, and a white sign. You know, and it said Howard University across it. And I said, that's where I need to go. And I've been there too. And I just knew. It's like
there's beautiful people on there. There's some powerful black men and women in there.
It's beautiful. Howard is very beautiful. But you know what I want these young people to understand, and I'm going to let you get back to your story. Ain't it amazing how God always put that person? God moment. Pay attention. The moments, man.
Pitch that alley hoop to me. I feel like I got hops right now. Man, we finna get ready for halftime. Before we go into halftime, let me tell y'all all these stories, and I'm hearing these men and women talk. This is for my adults. It started home. I see fathers. Everything they was talking about, they passions, they pains, started at home. Parents, You got to uplift your children, man. It started at home. You got to be passionate and patient with your kids. Don't throw them to the world, man. Nourish your kids. Grind and hustle and do whatever it takes to keep a solid home together. That's the essence of our beginning, man. That's what they want to destroy.
It's bigger than
That's what they wanted to destroy. The black home. Let's keep that home together and keep building. We're going to go to halftime, wash out our mouths, wipe off our faces, and hug and kiss each other and stretch out. Come back, check out halftime show. We got Mac Facts right after halftime. Stay tuned, boy. You know Bobby going to keep y'all healthy, man. Worldwide going to be on y'all back. He told, hey, man, going into halftime, we passed the big old dude the other day. Now, you know, we talk, we crack jokes. He said, man, how you really love your family? You that big and you still eating that hamburger, man? How you really telling me you love your family? You gonna put all that waste in your body and try to kill yourself? That's Bobby Mack, Worldwide Facts, boy. Hey, halftime, locker room, thanks for sharing. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We're gonna talk to Brother Muhammad, Mr. Hamilton. We're gonna talk about the school. Oh, man, we got it live in here, baby. We keep heavy hitters. We love y'all. Come back after the break.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? Baby kale, organic, spinach, organic. That's the greens in it. Now, this is called a Big Boy Made Cleanser. Man, it's a life changer. It can do a lot for you. It's gonna clean out all your insides, everything you got. Man, that kale will go into your intestines and clean the walls out. That's why that kale got that roughest end on there. This is stage 1 of this. Okay, now I got 3 lemons. These are 3 lemons. This is a whole pineapple. I just diced it up real good. It's a whole pineapple. And then I got 2 avocados. On top of that, I'm using me some of this good old MCT oil. Now, that right there help you, it's gonna help you focus. And it works best on a low carb diet. Okay, so hey, like it says, man, it gives you mental focus. Which some of y'all probably need to put this whole bottle in here, cause y'all need to just focus on your life and not everybody else's. So, you know, it's gonna always say low carb diet. You know what I'm saying? This runs with it, but it's good. Odorless, flavorless, but we're gonna put a little bit of that in there, you know what I'm saying? So, we're gonna get started. Now, also, 5 glasses of water. Get these lemons, see? Back in the day when I was working at Sonic, I used to make cherry limeades, and we used this lime squeezer right here. So I'm good with this lime squeeze. Make sure you get all of this. Now, listen, for people who don't like this much citrus, like certain people can say, oh, that's too much pineapple and lemon. It's a reason for that. But if you don't like pineapple, you can use melon. The lemon is what holds, you can keep it in your refrigerator up to a week. But it should be gone because of that lemon, that citrus in it, and it holds that flavor and it holds everything together. You will be amazed what lemon does. It's amazing what lemon do, man. Lemon give you energy as well. You gotta understand. I'm saying this, people. It's more like plant-based. See what I mean? Better believe it. 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 Yeah. You better believe it. I'm back with the genius and making agreements. We want it all. My standard procedure, declare and decree it. I mean it. You better believe it. Just gonna let y'all know. Keep them hands clean. All those people food. All those people food, man. You ain't finna win like this. I shoot, don't miss. Keep them hands clean, though. Get you a scoop of them greens right here. Just scoop your greens, man. Stuff your greens in here. You understand me? Stuff them greens in here. Stuff them in there, man. We scared. Get you a couple of these pineapples. That stuff's so sweet. The darker you see it, the sweeter it is. Can we speak? Because this thing, y'all don't believe it. They turn everything go. Stuff tough, man. It's good right here. You already know squeeze that in. I can't skin. Watch your hands. Stop it. It's up in the tip. Better believe it. Yeah. Sit on greens, man. Sit. Look at that. It's colorful. It's good for you. Give me a shab of this. Y'all read up on that. Go on Amazon. I know you're gonna read up on it anyway. Every time somebody wanna talk about something else, y'all wanna look it up. Y'all ain't wanna look at it. Glasses of water. Told y'all. 5 glasses of water. I already put 2 in there. 3. This drink, man, this drink. 4. This drink, man, it's good for you. It's a cleanser, baby. It'll take you where you need to be. 5. Cut it off. And you let it settle. You ready to change your life? Watch this, boy. Better believe it. Better believe it. Better believe it. That's quality. That's quality right there. Listen, you gotta drink this drink 3 to 4 times a day. 3 to 4 times a day. 3 to 4 times a day. When you get up, before you go to bed, lunchtime, 3 o'clock, you gotta drink this drink, man. You can't be having no sugar and drink this. It's gonna do something to you that you ain't gonna really love. It's gonna flush you even more and more. You gotta clean out all that, man. So hold on. Lord have mercy. Let me tell you something about that Big Boy May cleanser, man. This is it right here. Coming right at you, man. Big Boy May cleanser. I got more, like I said, I got more steps to this. This is stage 1. And we will be getting, I'll get back with y'all and I'll tune in to y'all. But this is it right here, man. Life changer. Big Boy May.
Oh boy, hey, we back for the second half. Hey man, it's hard to digest, man. I got some heavyweighters up here. This really wasn't no halftime.
Yeah.
We're gonna start recording the halftime, man. Knowledge being dropped at all times. We come back with Worldwide B Mac, man. Worldwide B for the Mac Facts.
Mac Facts. Y'all saw that drink, right? A lot of people got questions on it. I'm finna try to answer just a few of them and give you a little bit of the facts of it all. You got 2 enemies that fight. The one inside you and the one on the outside. That drink is gonna help you fight that one on the inside because it's gonna cleanse your mind, your spirit, your physical being. And when you got a clear mind, you get thoughts, man. And they not ugly, they not nasty, they good. It makes you turn into a creator. And you can create things in life that God has for you. It's hard for God to get in here when it's cluttered full of all the bad food that we eat. Okay, this drink is only drunk by itself. You don't drink the drink and then go buy a burger and eat some fries and then, well, that drink didn't do nothing for me. Well, if you did it right,
Worldwide.
If you did it right, it will work for you. And people, you got to understand this. This is the test. This is where the enemy inside comes in, and you got to understand this. The food that we eat, red meat, all other food that sit in our stomachs, parasites come and hang on to the walls of your stomach. The parasites are hanging on to the walls, the lining of your stomach. And the lining of your stomach is connected to your brain. Mm-hmm. The parasites are talking. It's spiritual. You don't understand this. Then that's why the parents like, well, we just drove by Popeyes. And the other time you go by there, that's what parasites do. You know what I mean?
Got in your head.
You know what I mean? The parasites, they connected. Everybody, that's all connected. But if you stay on the cleansing, it cleans all that out of you. It just takes all that out. But you got to stick with it. See, we always want somebody to guarantee us something, but we can't guarantee ourselves something. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing.
We're not going to replay that yet. I'm going to let you drop that. Keep going with your back facts.
But listen, folks, drink the drink. Stay on it 3 to 4 times. Drink it all day. You got to cleanse the system. Listen, you got to renew your mind. You renew your mind, you renew your body. Renew your mind. Youngsters, elderlies, middle, it don't matter. Renew your mind. That's the facts.
That's powerful, boy. Say, man, I love it, man. We're going to get into it a little bit more about this health. Right now, we're going to talk about this education, and we're going to come back. I want you to drop a little science about the school and the community. You didn't touch on that earlier. We got a lot of time. Talk to me about that and introduce your school to the world.
Well, let me say this, that I've been a part of an amazing charter school here for the past 17, going on 18 years, called Texas Empowerment Academy. Shout out to our superintendent, Mr. David Wayne Nowlin. But he saw something in me maybe 20-some odd years ago. So 21 years ago when he acquired the school, he came to get me to assist. And I said, I don't want to deal with no children because I know how I was. Long story short, I ended up joining the team. But I see the value in dealing with our children when I started producing and having children. If we ever want to change the condition of our community and our people, it has to start with what we're bringing into existence. So if you want something new, you have to produce something new, right?
That's true.
So, but our brother just mentioned that when he was convicted, that the judge said, do you hear how articulate he is? He's dangerous. Not because he's packing a Desert Eagle or a Glock or AK-47, but how articulate he is. One of the things that you were sure to get murdered for during the worst days of slavery is trying to learn how to read. Interesting enough, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the prophet that the Holy Quran was revealed to, the first word or instruction he got was Iqra, which means read. He was illiterate. So it's something about reading and developing the cognitive or the cognition of your mind and expanding your mind that brings man and woman out of the dark shadows of existence. So, but look up a man named Henry Berry. He was a part of the Virginia House of Delegates in 1832, and he was telling his fellow delegates in the House he was talking about black people. He said, we've all but extinguished the opportunity for them to receive we've cut off the path of them to receive any type of light. And we need to go one step further, and if we go one step further, we will cut off their ability to recognize the light, and then they'll be like the beasts of the field. This is in 1832. Our brother just talked to you about what happened in the 90s. He's dangerous. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was just banned from Facebook and Instagram. They labeled him dangerous. Well, why is he dangerous? Well, I don't know. I remember reading in scripture in the Bible, there was a man named Jesus that they called dangerous. Well, why was he dangerous? The same man that said, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free or set you free. Right? They said he's dangerous. So if knowledge is dangerous, then we should be involved in the acquisition of knowledge, so that, because look, man, when people are benefiting from oppression, they fear, and they fear the people that they oppress. What's good for the slave is never good for the slave master. What's good for the slave master is never good. I mean, so if you have an equal playing field of wisdom, then you can't oppress one because he got the same amount of knowledge, the same amount of wisdom that you have, and can apply it.
Make it equal.
Right?
Right.
So you know that saying they used to say, you want to hide something from a black man, do what with it?
Put it in the book.
Put it in the book. I have a better one than that. You want to hide something from a black man, put it inside of him.
Ooh. Ooh.
Why do you say?
Come on, man. Come on, man. Slam dunk that, man. Come on, man. We tried to let you run. We tried to let you run the course. Usain Bolt, but damn. Come on, man. Say that again, brother.
If you want to hide something from a black man, put it inside of him. Because a book, my sister says she writes, a book is a display of an individual's thoughts on paper.
Right.
So when you find the person that wrote the book, you find the living example, a version of the book. So it would be better for us to visit schools and mentor people on a person-to-person level than to give them a book if you wrote the book, because you are the example of the book, right?
Right.
So I'm saying that to say this, that if we're ever going to change anything in our community, we have to start with wisdom. We have to start with knowledge. And I don't know. And the reason I said put it inside of you, because when you open, somebody asked a question, maybe I'm answering it. When you open the Bible, everything is made, then a man is made in the image and after the likeness. The image is what you see exterior. The likeness is what you can't see that's inside, right?
Spiritual.
Then the one that the world says that came to save everybody says you look here and you look there, but the kingdom of God is where? Within you. Well, a kingdom is ruled by a king. If the kingdom is inside, then there has to be a king that will rule the kingdom that's inside. But if you're always looking outside for a king or a ruler, then you are always looking for something other than yourself. Right? And you can never become a responsible individual. Therefore, we keep blaming other people outside of our community for the condition that's inside of our community. But once we take responsibility for that, I know y'all told me to talk about the school, but we went somewhere else.
Do your thing, baby.
Well, I'm right with you.
But so when you can take a child, my wife just published a book entitled Children of the Most High, How to Give Birth to a God and the Science of Child Rearing, right? Well, why do you say, well, in the book of Psalms it says, ye are all God's children of the Most High, right? But then it goes down and says, but ye shall die like men. So even though you're a reflection of God, there's a condition that exists that will cause you to die, not like a God, but die like a man, right? So when we pour into children, children don't do what we say, they do what we do.
That's right.
So every time I go somewhere, people that see me, they see one of my children with me. That young man was a 14-year-old high school senior.
Shout out.
He turned 15 the same month he graduated from high school and already had college credit. Am I right? Or were you a 15-year-old high school senior? He was 14. He was about to go to the 10th grade when he was 11. But we made him stay back because we was
your daddy, boy. This is what we celebrate.
We was nervous.
This is what we talk about at home, baby. That's power right there.
But let me tell you what.
That's what I'm talking about.
He working in the field, him and his brother. But I came home. My wife, we had the agreement that when we got married, she wouldn't have to work when we started producing children. Now in Austin, with the economy, you know, you need 4 jobs and a mule.
There you go. Where it's going.
But let me tell you what, I came home one day and his oldest brother, my 21-year-old, I think he must have been like 3 or 4 months old, and she had flashcards that she had made, laid out on the carpet, the alphabet and 1 through 10. She would call a letter or a number at random. He would scan them, and he would crawl out and get one and bring it back. He couldn't even talk, right? She said she learned, she was teaching him, she taught him from the time that she conceived him.
Right.
But she said she knew he understood when she would call something, she would see his eyes scanning, and it would stop on the one, right? So theoretically, they could read before they could talk. You see what I'm saying? So when we start looking at our children, check this out. Check this out. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it like this. He said, every time you look at a black man or woman, you looking at God, right? Scripture says, how can you say that you love God who you never seen and hate your brother who you see every day? Right?
Yes.
Maybe part of that understanding is God has deposited himself in each one of us to a certain degree, and it needs to be like that seed watered and grown, but because we can't recognize God and B. Mac, right? And Ray Jack and Darwin, right? And Imani and Brother Robert, right? If I can't recognize God in myself, I can't recognize it in you. So how can I say that I love God who has deposited himself in you? And I see you every day, right?
I love it.
But the more we feed them from the mind of God, the more God grows in them, and they begin to conquer and master this little old curriculum that they put before our children. They eat that like candy. This boy was eating math like Skittles.
Yes. Real talk, bro.
And so he did a commencement speech for the 5th grade, and of course in high school he's smaller than everybody because he's younger than everybody. And he told them, he said, my football field, my basketball court is in the classroom. That's where I'm dunking. That's where I'm scoring, right? I remember he's sitting in the chair, feet couldn't even touch the ground. He's swinging. Now he's about 6 feet tall now. But that's amazing. But so education became important to me because education feeds the soul. But see, if you got people educating your children that don't know what they looking at, if they think they looking at a nigga, if they think they looking at a factory worker, if they think they looking at a thug, if they think they looking at an accident, if they think they're looking at that instead of one that has the ability to reflect the majesty of God himself,
change the world,
then they're going to teach according to that. But guess what? If I recognize God is sitting at this table, how will I talk and how will I act?
Right.
So education became important to me, and the ills that plague our children, they come directly from the parents. And so there's no way you can educate the children and not be able to work with the parents, because the parents are going to undo everything you're attempting to do. But guess what? We don't have no excuses, because guess what? If you drop your child off with me for 8 to 10 hours a day for 180 days, 160 days.
I got him longer than you most of the time.
Guess what? If they fail to perform, you the parent, yeah, you responsible. But I had them longer than you did. So, but education is the only profession where the client can be blamed for their failure. But you never can go to the doctor, you can never go to the surgeon, and the surgeon say, I'm gonna remove your kidney, and you wake up and one of your lungs is collapsing, removed, and you say, well, wait a minute, y'all supposed to take out my kidney. Well, you laid down wrong, bro. Right?
Man. Say that again.
But that's what happens. Education is the only profession where you can blame the client for their failure. So
come on, Mr. Do-Right. Don't be hollering wild like that, man. That's knowledge, man.
But there's always been this fight about there's always this fight about where to lay the blame at, to lay it at home. So you got federal funding coming for these after-school programs. Keep them at school longer. Then it's the teacher. So you put money towards certifications and money towards master teacher skills. And now it's the administration. It's all of these things. Well, if it takes a village to build a child, to raise a child, it also takes one to destroy it. So which village we gonna be? So, man, y'all, I mean, we'll talk all the way through 4 quarter messing around with me, bro.
You saw your classmate, Black Sean Mitchell, took over the show. We don't mind giving the show.
Man, and I'm going to say,
Nate Sanders, man. Hey, boy, that's
I'm going to say this, man. I really appreciate y'all highlighting Sean Mitchell. I was in the class with Cedric Shaw, and I know they always had their thing, especially Black, you know. But I'm telling you, Ray Jackson Sr. knew how to make that boy perform, and man,
in ways that he never thought he could.
If we were ever proud, coming out of LBJ in Austin, was to see Sean Mitchell come out of Glenn College and go and play for the University of Texas and run in between great backs like Ricky Williams and Priest Holmes and all of them. Man, we were Texas proud, even if you didn't like Texas. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Sean Mitchell, man. I really appreciated seeing him.
That's how I educated you all, brother. And I had a lot of people that were questioning about that, how he mentioned said, but I say, man, that's how we had it at the J, man. My father used triggers. It was so much he wasn't talking down on said, because said, how can you talk down on NFL? You know, one of the leading rushes in Iowa history. Like, that's the big kid. Still the leading rush. You understand what I'm saying? So it was a motivation thing, and all those that are educated.
Coach Ray Jackson Sr. was a master psychologist, man.
Yes, he was a mastermind.
He could make it move,
but he was one of the first educated black men with a degree through this city, bro. You understand what I'm saying?
Shout out to Ray Jackson Sr.
Exactly, man. Every episode,
he kept a lot of us out of trouble. Yes. You know what I'm saying? I never forget. I wasn't a senior. Y'all was seniors. And we was down at the park.
You remember that?
I think it was Tab's test or something. I don't know. We skipping. Man, Coach Jack pulled up in the car. Everybody ran. He couldn't run. Ray Jr., you bring y'all. Everybody run. I see y'all. He was. I mean, you know. I'm like, man, what he doing down here?
Heavy, right?
What he doing? You know. So,
he knew what it was.
Yeah, I'm talking about him. What he doing down here?
Yeah, exactly.
You know. But I mean, you know. So, man, we had people that poured into us.
Yes.
And I've had a lot of people around me see something in me that come and tap me and say, man, come over here, man. I think you can benefit. I think the people can benefit. Whereas I'm not going to ever say I have never seen anything in myself, because I see a lot in myself. But sometimes people see to a different degree something different than what you see.
Right.
And so, you know, that education piece is, I love it. And the opportunities to teach and to educate children, regardless of how you're educating, we're going to learn anyway. But it's what you're going to pour into them, and you can't get out of something that's not already in there. So, man, I'm grateful to y'all, man, for having us come. Man, I'm going to tell you, I'm proud of this brother.
We segue right into it. You run the show. It's your show. Come on.
Hey, man, people call me a community leader. I'm a community servant. Right? So I'm honored to be here, but when I see brothers like y'all, I see brothers like Darwin, I hear about my sister here, you know, that makes me feel proud. So I'm not trying to grow up to be something great or somebody great. The only thing I want to do is be a change agent.
That's it.
And if I can motivate somebody to be the best version of themselves, because everybody else is already taken, so they don't need trying to be somebody else, they all taken. So basically, that feeds me. That feeds my soul.
I'm going to tell you something crazy. Go ahead, B. Go ahead, B.
So what you saying is you're not a go-getter, you're a go-giver.
And check this out.
Tell them what is that, a who?
You're not a go-getter, you're a go-giver.
I'm a go-giver, but hopefully I can get something while I'm giving. Right?
That's right.
You know, because check this out, though.
Right.
Scripture says money answereth all things, right?
Things.
And so some people believe with black people.
Right.
See, that
hit them.
I love the black church because it gave me my foundation. But something happened during the transition from integration, from segregation to integration. Something happened. And that theology evolved or it changed. And so the feeding that we used to get, we're not getting anymore because we don't see the community thriving anymore, right? So the mosque and the church can't exist right next to crime, because if you can come to the Lord as you are, you can't stay that way. If any man believe in Christ, he's a what? A new, not an old creature. He's a new one. So if I remain the same, then that means that there's a short circuit in
the church.
If his mind is in this book called Bible or Quran, and I read it and I'm not being changed, then there's an interpretation that has been cut. Y'all know a little something about that, right?
Oh man,
it's not pure anymore.
Man,
so somebody put some baking soda or some isotop. They went in the kitchen, cooked it up, and repackaged it, and repackaged it, and translated it, and took the power out of it. So when Moses was freeing the children of Israel from Pharaoh, we are not exercising that type of power no more, huh? When Abraham was destroying idols, we not exercising that type of power no more. Why? We reading about their stories. That's right. Where did they get the power from? Last I heard, it was 24 hours in a day back then.
Back then, and it is now.
And it is now. Last I heard, they was having children back then. Last I heard, they was working back then. The first profession was agriculture, right?
It's amazing how you saying all this. It's amazing because I was talking to some. Yeah, you can go. We gonna go. We fix it. Go. We in the car. Woo! And
I love
it. They said the Israelites, they had to go 11 miles. So if you at home,
talk about that time.
Yeah, if you at home, and I want you to just hit 11 miles. Just hit 11 miles. Anywhere. If you at home, if you anywhere drive, hit 11 miles. And it took them 40 years.
That's right.
And then you wonder, you're like, man.
They got a study out called the wilderness mentality.
I need to get that.
Hold on. Before you go into that, man. Y'all get ready to come back. Say, man. Every week we got powerful guests that take over the show and this day show, bro. I love you, what you doing. We heading into this fourth quarter, man. As you know, we always finish strong. Look like another show where we going into overtime. Stay plugged in, share, like, support, continue to watch. Shout out to Sean Gooden for them cookies, man.
Yes,
I need some more cookies.
Good and sweet.
Baby,
good and sweet.
You know what it is. Fourth quarter coming right back at you.
See, that's the first thing you gotta do is value you. So I tell my son, he's 9 years old. I said, son, make things valuable. And he said, Dad, how do I do that? I said, do you understand what it is? When you got something, make it better. That's what value is. Making something better. Because I told him, I say, if you grab a football and you make that football better, you value the football with less mistakes, you're gonna be the most valuable player on the field. MVP. So he say, man, that makes sense. I say, that's what value is. The less mistakes we make, the better things happen. You see what I'm saying? And you found that out. You ain't been back since, have you?
Nah.
So
I'm not trying to go back.
But you see what your mindset, bro, is it's in a whole nother.
They're just doing the right thing.
And that's it. And we can't always have what we want, when we want it. But we gotta let the process play out. See, a lot of people don't want to deal with that. A lot of people hate process, man. I'm telling you, man, they like, you know why? You wanna know why people hate process? Because of these. What is this, man? Quick, fast, and hurry. The phone, you keep dealing with this. And watch how fast they give you results, right? You know what I'm saying? And then when somebody else don't give you results that fast, man, what's taking you so? Yeah. You be like, man, dude. And now you messing up relationships with people because of this device. I tell you, this is a tool. All right? If you take care of your business first, then you can make it pleasure. You see what I'm saying? Business before pleasure. When you play your game and you take care of your position, your pleasure gonna come. Victory. Even though y'all might take a loss, look what you did. I'm just saying, 15 tackles, 1 interception, 3 sacks. So what that make you at the end of the year? First team defense. Texas, Booker College, for 50 best athletes. That's what it does. So that's why you gotta value you. And a lot of people don't do it. Like I'm telling this man right here, editing. This could change his career, his whole life. He edited, right? He can be working for $1 million company. Hey, you got them videos? I got them. I already sent them to you. It just happened. He getting paid. He at home like, man, this ice cream, man. I've been doing this since high school. And that's the thing. But I'm going to tell you something. If you never, ever value nothing, bro, then nothing ain't going to never value you. Nothing. You got to bring your A game in life. You are here for a reason. We're trying to find that reason. You feel me, man? And it's tough. Man, y'all young, y'all 16, but you can write it down. But that don't mean it all gonna happen that way. But at least you got it wrote down.
You know what you want.
You know what you want, and you go after it. A person without a vision, pay close attention. People without vision is out here in this world running wild. And then you go to him and go like this. Say, man, what you want to be? See what I want you. Wow. Listen, and the way they do you, the people who ask it, they like, this guy, motherfucker. But they gonna keep the smile, you know. And they looking, and they go like this guy, motherfucker. He don't even know what he wanted, like. But that's how, in the world, if they did it, they be like, wow, this where I use going? Wow, they don't even know. But if you go to them, let me tell you something. You go to them, yeah, I'm gonna be an anchyologist, and I'm gonna, I'm thinking about podiatrists, and they like, whoa, this dude here wants something outside of sports. He wants something. He wants something.
That's very well, bro. You back.
Now almost made me spill my water. B-Mac, bring us back, baby, so y'all go right into what y'all was talking about. That wilderness.
Hey, we
Let's
back.
get it.
Let's
get it.
My man was talking about the wilderness. When you said that, Rob, what do you mean by it?
Well, first, I just wanted to let the audience know they messing with me. That's why I keep talking, man. They messing with me. I want to hear from them, you know.
Yeah.
Go ahead, it's your show.
But let me, our brother he was involved in an exercise that could kind of shed some light on that aspect of scripture.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things about people when we listen to or read, even from the Quran, one of the things it says, well, the first thing people do is say, well, he's a man just like us.
Right.
Why should I listen to him?
That's right.
But if God had sent you angels, then you would say, I can't identify with him.
Right.
So one of the exercises that I did in a leadership program, they took us out into the woods and they blindfolded us, and they told us, hold on to this rope in these woods. We're gonna go through this maze, and when you see the light, you'll get out of the maze, right? So as I'm, holding on to this rope, I'm standing there and I'm hearing all these people out here in the woods. I can hear them talking. I can hear them telling each other this and come here, come this way, and all that. And then there was the facilitators in the woods were saying, raise your hand if you need help. And I'm listening because they told us, once you're in the woods, you'll find your way out as soon as you see the light. And so I'm waiting for further instructions. They said, well, someone will come around and give you further instructions. Mm-hmm. So I'm probably standing out there in these woods for about 5 or 10 minutes, and I hear one of the facilitators say, raise your hand if you need help. And so I raised my hand, and she removed the blindfold, and I was the first person out of the maze. So what we learn about leadership is often as leaders, we're afraid to ask for help. And you're not going to see the light because you're not asking for help. It's not about one person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have to ask for help sometimes. So that was just a parable basically that we often never think about. Because we can have the greatest titles in the world and still not be good, great, or effective leaders, because it is the people who decide whether you're a leader or not. And it's our responsibility to live up to that. You know, because one of the things I say, you know, leadership is a practice, just like the law in medicine. It's not something that you just sit on the shelf.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's something that you have to work on and get feedback, you know, from the people that follow you.
Right.
That's cool.
Man.
That's cool.
Nice.
What was your question? Talk to us.
Well, I mean, I wanted to know about the wilderness mentality.
Well,
we messing with you.
Yeah. he up for it though. That's what I like.
well, let me say this. There is no empirical data. There's no history that you can verify that shows that a man named Moses that lived 4,000 years ago freed a chosen people called the children of Israel from a Pharaoh. There is a man named Moses that lived 4,000 years ago, but there is no historical data that he freed a children that were or people that were kept in captivity. So if there is no historical data that shows that, then there's a part of that writing that is historic, and there's a part of that writing that is prophetic. Right?
There you go.
So Moses is told by his God that his seed will be a stranger in a strange land, right?
Right.
And they be held in captivity, and that at a certain point God will come and free them, and they'll come out with great substance. So I don't know nothing about, you know, people that inhabit the land of the Palestinians as the chosen people, because nobody has caught as much hell as black people in America have caught for the past 460, 400 and nearly 470 years, right? Still catching it.
What you talking?
So if that is prophetic, then we're looking at not necessarily the name Moses, not necessarily the name children of Israel, but the function and the ingredients of the mindset that existed. So that means that there's that means that there is an individual that's going to come with some wisdom that's going to free you. See, if Jesus can say that you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free, right?
Right.
Not money gonna make you free. Not a profession or none of title's not going to set you free, right? Yeah. But if we still fighting for jobs and justice, then we not yet free. So that which we've already learned must not be the truth. So he also said that it is expedient for you that I go away. If I go not away, right? Then the Comforter will not come. The Spirit of truth, he will bring you into what? All truth. Or all knowledge, which means that I've given you something that you have been able to accept, but there's some of it I couldn't give to you because you're not ready for it. But there will be a time, a place, and a people that will be able to accept all truth, right? And that people you would see a man that would be a prophet like Moses. You would see a man, or you would hear a word coming out of individuals' mouths. We in that time right now. So when we talk about the wilderness mentality, right, on the cover of our new paper, the Final Call newspaper, we're talking about reparation. Everybody got money to help repair the condition that they were placed in under subjugation and oppression. The Japanese got it, the Jews are getting it, the Indian Native Americans are getting it, but black people ain't getting nothing. But hard times and bubble gum, and they fresh out of bubble gum.
Yeah, 'cause they chewed it all
right.
up.
So, I'm saying all of these things to say this: that if we are scheduled to pull 1.3 to 1.5 trillion dollars out of the American economy, that would make us something like the 10th richest country on the planet. I'm talking about black people.
Say that again and drop that number again.
We are scheduled to pull 1.3 to 1.5 trillion dollars out of the American economy, right? But we spending our money on technology, hair care products, huh? Do you know that in Detroit, Michigan, a city that is bankrupt, right?
Good D.
Yeah, that when we walk for our National Savings Day convention passing out flyers, that we can go for blocks and none of the houses are inhabited, and we might go to one house and we might have to go to 40 more before somebody else is living in that, right? Yes. But do you know that the demographics of that city, 80% black, that they are the #1 cognac consumers in the world.
In the city of Detroit.
In the world.
Yes.
Red flag on that one.
So
Young Nate Sanders come from the press box. My big brother in the press box said he want to hear that again. Nate Sanders, shout out, baby. That's
Come on, man.
So
the city of Detroit. Say that again.
The city of Detroit is 80% black,
The
a
D,
bankrupt city,
what up,
right? Are the #1 consumers of cognac. A city that's about to shut down, right? So we've had leaders in the Honorable Marcus Garvey. We had leaders in Noble Drew Ali. We've had leaders in Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. But when these individuals are off the scene, people holler they was with them. Now we live in this time, and I'm telling you right now, the people that say they would have been with Martin Luther King was not with Martin Luther King Jr. That's why he was able to be killed. Martin Luther King, man, Martin Luther King Jr. was asked the question. We always get that dream of Martin Luther King Jr.
What they want to
He was asked the question about, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy made a comment that who is more at fault, the creator of the darkness or those who commit sin in the darkness? Martin Luther King Jr. said the creator of the darkness. He said in words, it's terrible that black folks have committed crimes, but he said they are derivative crimes that come from the greater white community. That's what Martin Luther King Jr. said.
Man, had to go.
Get you killed.
But if I
had to go.
So I'm sorry, I'm going around, and I also paint.
Man,
I can draw.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. So I'm trying to paint a picture. So
why them Jaguars get the ball, bro? Quarter horses.
So listen.
Leave the state and rush and they just run. Go.
They killed their last leader when they killed Martin Luther King Jr. They want to kill the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But see, when he called for 1 million people to show up at D.C. in '95 and 2 million showed up, then 20 years later, when he called for people to come and celebrate the 20th anniversary, and he asked us to go back and get involved in conflict resolution, and I went straight to Austin, but Colleen picked up the program, and I'm stopping brothers who are pulling AK-47s on one another and Glock 9s on one another, and I'm having them in the same room, sitting down, embracing and crying and making up, and they crime dropped 60-something%, and it hadn't been that way in like 20 or 30 years. See, they banned him from Facebook because they said he was dangerous, right? But you don't see the politicians that benefited from his leadership speaking out for the ban. You don't hear a lot of these entertainers speaking out that benefited from the ban. There are hardly a few preachers, even though they invite him and he speak at more churches than you, and he can speak that Bible. That's how come I know that Bible like that, right? I became more acquainted with Jesus when I joined the Nation of Islam than I did when I was in church. That's why I can give a shout out to the black church, because it gave me my foundation, and now I understand more the birth and the ministry of Jesus than I ever did. And the problem is not that we don't believe in Christ, we don't believe in the white Christ, we believe in the right Christ. You follow me? And I'm telling you right now, it doesn't matter what color he was, but it mattered to somebody because they changed the dynamics that's written in the book. And even though it's written in the book, you got a picture, and you read the book, you look at the picture, you read the book, you look at the picture, it don't add up, right? So I'm saying, so just like Moses trying to free a people from the clutches of Pharaoh, do you know them people wanted to go back? They said, man, you got us out here in this wilderness. We got a bill, we ain't got no covering over our head, and it's raining, and you got all this kind of, you crazy. Man, I'm going back, right? That's why Harry Tubman put a shotgun on him. Say, you going free or you going to die here.
That's what it's going to be.
So the mindset is that what it's showing is there's some faithlessness faithlessness that exists, that the God that you say you believe in, you really don't have full faith that he will completely deliver you.
That's your problem.
But that's because we're not totally acquainted with the reality of God. If we understood that his spirit dwells in all of us, then can't no white man, can't no black man, can't no Asian, can't no African, nobody can oppress me unless I give them the authority to do it. But if I give them the authority to do it, that means I had authority, right? But when you understand you come directly from God himself, and you can see that you have the ability to become a reflection of that God that you come from, in the Bible it says, let us make man. That's plural. Holy Quran talks about we, and we adorn the lower heavens with stars. Well, who is the us and the we? That's a community of people working together to utilize, and their working together produces results that are on the level of God, right? So in the book of Psalms, it opens up where it says, ye are all children of the Most High. They don't read the part where it says, and God came in to sit among the council of gods, to judge amongst the gods. Well, there is a supreme, but then there's a council, right? So y'all gonna ask me, I'm gonna ask for an offering in a minute.
Yes. I already called me out of church.
But let me make this one point that y'all asked me to make, is that we believe in all of the revealed scriptures. We believe in the Torah or the Old Testament. We believe in the Injil or the Gospel, the New Testament. And we believe in the Holy Quran. It was revealed to Prophet Muhammad. And when you understand those books, they complement one another. So
that's one of the biggest knocks, though. You know, that's one of the biggest myths.
Right.
With
that's
the
a myth. But guess what? So the Jews accept Moses, but then when Jesus came, they didn't accept him. Christians accept Jesus, but when Muhammad come, they didn't accept him. Right? So if Jawan Howard goes to Michigan and he's the new coach and they don't accept him because they're used to the old coach, then what are they sentencing themselves to? So we can drop these labels. We worse than the wino. He don't care what label is on the bottle. He only cares what's in it. Can it get me lit?
That's it.
That's it. So you'll see the Nation of Islam being one of the most cordial groups around, the most uniting group around. And you know, but we ain't for no. I mean, it's gonna be truth all day.
That's just how it is.
So if people are oppressing us, we gonna call it out. That's what it is. Right. And so I can go home to any church and feel at home because I am not insecure in my way of life. Right. Islam is not a religion. It's the nature by which we were born, and it is a way of life. So people that want to accept a religion, they want to accept some rituals. But when you accept the way, that's why they what they say about diets. Diets don't work. But when you accept a new way of life, then that works.
The show. They've been watching you worldwide. Right? They listening to you.
So you know, hey man, I'm not gonna say nothing. Right. I want to hear from this powerful sister here, who because writing is a mark of civilization, and so. You know they taking cursive right now out of the curriculum. We doing this all day, every day. But writing is a mark of civilization. It is an expressive form of art, and it helps to open and expand the realm of possibility for the mind. And guess what? If you can't expand that, then how you gonna achieve the higher heights of things? I would like for our brother to share something before we go. I heard, and I've been knowing him, but he shared something at an all men's event I went to about how he saved money in prison and what he was able. I know tons of brothers been in the penitentiary. They ain't never came out with no money.
Yes, sir.
But this brother was, man, when you about that bread, that paper, so the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money, the love of it. Money is a great servant, but a terrible master. Yes. Right? So when I hear what this young man did, my mind was blown. I was like, you did what?
Man.
Can you share that with everybody?
Absolutely. I ended up going to a for-profit prison. I spent 4 years over there.
Where?
a for-profit, which is private prisons that basically incarcerate you, take your labor, build products and things like that. So I was working in a private prison manufacturing circuit boards. And it didn't matter what skill level you were on. This was like back in 94, 95. And the minimum wage was $5.15 or 25 cents or something like that. And so I decided that for every year that I was incarcerated, I'm gonna save $1,000. This is gonna be my reparation for the state's injustice. But I was also being charged for my incarceration because we were paying to live in a private prison like it was a halfway house and we didn't go anywhere. So
y'all hearing this?
Say that again, bro. Say that. Explain that.
I was being charged quarterly to live in the facility like as if I was at a halfway house while I was incarcerated. So basically they were garnishing, taking 50% of that $5, basically. You know what I'm saying? And what I would see on my books and in my savings would be about $2. So I decided I'm not giving this money back to the system because my money can be better spent out here on the outside where I have resources. Because that's the number one thing. When we get out of prison back then, it used to be $200. The legislator changed it where they give you $100. So you get out of prison with $50 and a bus ticket and you told to go on with your life and be successful. And you'll get the other $50 when you report to your parole officer. So I ended up leaving prison with about $5,000 because you got to have vision. You see what I'm saying? You have to be strategic in your thinking. Whereas my peers incarcerated, they was betting on basketball games. They was watching you in the Fab Five. You know what I'm saying? And running boards and all these kind of things, you know what I'm saying, for snacks. And one thing they would say, they say, man, you know, you could make commissary with a football sock, man, because you ain't buying nothing. I say that's right, because when I get out here, there's some things that I'm going to do. And so, again, you know, I'm going to show you better than I can tell you.
That's real, bro.
And so, yeah, I hit that bus station with almost $5,000 coming out of prison.
So what was meant to be a wound, a tomb, was a womb. So he was reborn when he came out with a different mindset. That's a hell of a testimony.
That's like the story of Eunice Jonas inside the belly of the whale and the beast.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And one of my friends, he made me think about something. He said, you know, Moses was raised inside the enemy's house. You know what I'm saying? Inside that prison is the enemy's house. You know, and so he learned all the ways of the enemy, and then he got out and he came for his people. So what I do with reentry and criminal justice reform, I'm coming for my people to let them go, right? So that's what a part of my work is coming back, giving back. So brothers who return, you know what I'm saying, can realize what the potential is, you know what I'm saying? So I'm modeling what the possibilities are. You know, something people don't know about me, I just finished working 20 years for the state government. So how do I get out of prison and then end up working for the state government? You know what I'm saying? Because you have to have something.
That's right. You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
So I'll share a little bit about how that happened. You know, so one of the things, man, I realized when I got out of prison, I ended up doing a temp job for like 13 months. And so while I was on that assignment, I learned all of the applications and systems that they had in that agency. And I taught myself 10 key by touch because I was looking at job postings of what the relevant skills were. So I taught myself 10 key by touch because I was going to apply to be an accountant, right? And so I built those relationships in that social capital. And there was a white woman who was my director at that time, and she offered me a job. And she said, is there anything that I should know? And I said, well, I've been convicted of a felony. And she said, well, is that it? And so, you know, much to my relief, I was thinking I'd be ostracized. But this woman would offer me that job, and I couldn't get it because then the incoming Attorney General was John Cornyn, who's our U.S. representative in Congress right now. And they said, well, it wouldn't look good for a convicted felon to be working for crime victims' compensation with a felony conviction. And I said, okay, cool. But what this woman did was she used and spent her privilege. And that's something that we have to think about. You have to use and spend your privilege and advocate for those who don't have it. So she called up another director that she knew and said, I have a candidate here, and he's great. He's excellent. He's amazing. So the next thing was basically up to me. I still had to go interview with those folks. And so I went and interviewed with the immediate supervisor and then the accounting director, the CFO. And in comes this other white woman, and she came in real harsh and aggressive. And she said, well, why should I trust you? And I said, because I'm not a thief, I'm not a robber. I'm not a white-collar criminal embezzler. I sold drugs. Now, I've been honest with you, you be honest with me. If I'm not going to get this job because of my background, then I'm going to face discrimination for the rest of my life. And your decision should be based on merit and not my criminal background. Then the next question, she said, well, why should I hire you? I said, because I believe that I'm capable. And regardless of whether you have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, or a PhD, no one can walk on a job and perform without being trained. So therefore, we're equal.
That's right. Come on now.
You see? And so then she would circle back. So you mean to tell me you've done time? I said, yeah, I've done time. But had I not had that experience, it wouldn't have made me a better person. That's right. So I began to see her confidence wane and deflate. Yeah. Because she wasn't prepared for this weapon. I understand what I'm saying?
Come on, man.
Because, and so I decided a long time ago that I'm going to use this weapon. You see what I'm saying? And this is a part of the arsenal that we have to have when we develop ourselves. You have to have an arsenal.
Yes. Yeah, powerful. Man, I ain't saying that.
Just real smooth like, right?
Hey, but that's my
real
question.
smooth.
So tell me this, and I want the world to know. I love the way you communicate. Yes. What part of the pimping came from that, bro? Can I know about the pimping? Because they used to call me Silky Smooth on that basketball court. So what part of the pimping?
I mean, it all comes from it, man, because, most of the players from back then were very charismatic. I mean, they were, I would say, was really the real rappers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because some of these things, I mean, it was basic, but it still was charismatic in the way that you conduct and carry yourself. And so I often tell people, I left the game, but the game didn't leave me. You understand? Because it's something that is still a part of me, and it allows me to navigate these different spaces. You know what I'm saying? Because I was educated on the west side of town as well as the east side of town. I went to school where your wife is the principal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? With white people, then I came back to the hood.
Right.
So, I mean, I had the best education of both worlds, from going to school with white kids in West Austin, then coming back and looking at the world outside of my window where, players and things like this would also educate me. And one of the things I talk about in the book is, something that's a problem in our community really with our talented 10th is that, they were supposed to come back, but a lot of them didn't come back. And so even the, and I call them the, the pretentious black bourgeois.
Come on, man.
You know what I'm saying? Because even though these black men and women were accessible in my community, they weren't accessible to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So my mentors and my peers was these players. You know what I'm saying? And they told me how to walk with confidence and some swagger. And to be 16 and just walk in a club like you belong to be there. You know what I'm saying? So I've never held my head low. Wherever I go, I'm going to walk standing tall. You know what I'm saying? When all the buildings crumble and fall, this game going to still be standing tall.
But man, I got, when we utilize something, it's twisted and demonized. We call it the game, we call it pimping, but Dale Carnegie calls it how to win friends and influence people. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a science to that we learn, but we live on a real live Monopoly board. Right? Except we don't get the thimble, we don't get the horse, we don't get the shoe, and we don't get the 500, the 100s, the 50s, the 20s, the 10s, the 5, and we can't play on the board at all. So what we do is we take the same concept and we play off the board on the black market. Right? So but the science is the same. Only problem is we go to prison for it. Other people build worlds with it.
Until it's legalized.
Until it's legalized. Or it's legalized, but since you didn't pay for the licensing to do certain things, then you illegal.
And then the ones who really good at it, they got a record or somewhat. You know what I mean? They could be, instead of them holding us down and probably do like some of the feds do, How did you break in this building? Well, I did it. Okay, you finna come work for us. You see what I mean? So if you know how to handle this,
right,
come work for us. But they not gonna do it because, like you said, no license, criminal record. We don't want you in here because you're gonna be in the back with your homeboy smoking up all the stuff, and that's just a label that they give us. But you know what I mean? So,
but really and honestly, most of our geniuses end up, particularly among the male population, end up incarcerated at some point.
This affects us traumatically.
Because they see the status quo and they rebel against it. And they don't know why they don't want to go to school. They don't know why they don't want to go to church. They don't know why they don't want to go to mosque. They don't know why they don't want to be a part of the establishment. They just know they don't. Right? And so when I used to go teach in prisons all the time, and I would tell them, I'll put y'all up against one of these Fortune 500 white boys in a minute, because I've seen in my own community what they can do. And you see them when they get out, they still got that hustle. You could tell people that just was a part of the landscape, and people that really took in that game, they know how to make that money. And they can take that same energy and they can parlay it into something legal, and they can become just as successful if they had the patience. So when you hear this brother's story, see, we have a job, we have an unemployment rate that almost is non-existent in the Nation of Islam, because we teach men to, if you can't get a job, make one.
Create it.
You understand?
Create that joker.
So there's no excuse for a man not being able to provide. I'll pick up a pair of socks and go to the block and go sell them when it get cold, because I know somebody need, you know what I'm saying? You know. So I heard you telling your story, you know, about the transition into the carpet business. We got to make it happen. But see, if nobody gives you that knowledge and feeds that and stokes that fire in you, then it'll die in you.
Because the wisdom is everything. You know what I mean?
Life experience.
It's life experience. And they say certain wisdom is further than knowledge. You know what I mean? Knowledge can come to a certain point. Wisdom keep going.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So when that happens, people, but you got to be in that realm now. You got to. Everybody not in that realm. A lot of these people sleep. And they on drugs. See, all that blocks what you really need to have in life, man. You know what I mean? And it hinders you even from wanting to even teach somebody.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all heard me say it again. If my man died with all this knowledge inside of him, he died alone.
That's right.
But if he give it, he live forever.
That's right.
You know,
that's what it is, though. That's what it is.
You feel me?
That's what it
I mean,
is.
there's a saying, you know, a person can't give what they don't have.
That's it.
And they can't teach what they don't know.
And they don't teach what they don't know. And that's 1,000.
And I mean, you know, you all heard what we say. You know, the game ain't free. You understand? You know what I'm saying?
Man.
So, yeah, it's to be sold and not told. But now, one thing is, you're gonna pay for it one way or another. And you don't give nobody no money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To get no game. That ain't how that works. You know what I'm saying? You ain't giving nobody. You're not giving nobody $500
right
to get no game. You know what I'm saying?
Man, y'all don't even understand, man. To hear this brother,
man.
I grew up with. We the same class, man. We snuck off to O. Henry together and showed up. I showed up at Pierce, then we, you know, LBJ. But he always been like on this level of smooth, even around the cutthroats and the goons and whatnot. He always been slacked up, you know.
He knew who he was.
Button down and chain swinging and all that. Slant back. What was the car you drove when you was in high school?
A slant back Lincoln Continental.
Y'all don't know, man. I'm telling you.
And then a Seville.
I mean, I mean, just teaching it.
Yeah.
But I got a question.
We got to get to her.
I got a question. How does it make you feel, if, Alexa, to be in that group of black women that rising above all races of graduating from college? Man, woman,
that's amazing. Yeah.
How does it make you feel? Have you thought about it? How does it make you feel now that you know? If I just told you, How did that make you feel? Because, see, y'all number one right now. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
You know what I mean? So, where did that sit with you at? Like, you know, with your story and all of that, where you coming from and all of that?
Well, to bring everything full circle, because I didn't complete it, but I applied to go to Howard University. My GPA was not where many students are who enroll in Howard. I was not focused in high school. I had a lot going on. So when I hit the point in my life where I decided, or really when I received the vision, because that's what it was a calling.
That's right,
that you need to get on a plane and go to Washington, D.C. for some reason. I didn't know why, but I know now that I've completed the journey. But at that point in my life, everything changed for me, and I hit it hard. My admissions essay, I wrote everything down, 100% true. You know, I did my SAT, my ACT over and over and over again. Mind you, no one else in my family had done this, so I didn't really have the support or the guidance. But thank God I had my godparents.
You was the only one?
You know, yes.
In your family?
Yes.
Shout out to John.
First one.
College, yes.
To finish college.
How many siblings?
Yes.
How many siblings?
I have an older brother and 3 other siblings who are also in school.
Okay.
So, you know, and I say all that to say, and I want to say this directly to the young people, because this is important.
Yes.
There have been a couple themes that have come up throughout this conversation, and one of them is education. You know, putting yourself in a place where you're self-motivated to learn. Just because you're taking reading, writing, math, and science does not mean you can't go to the library and pick up a book about anything, be it Buddhism, you know, be it something outside of your nature of what you know. No one can take that ability away from you, so do it, because that's really the key to freedom, to find that information for yourself. So another thing that's come up is wisdom, and I mean, throughout my journey, like I said, I did get accepted to college. I got accepted to Howard University, for one, because it was a vision, and God gave me permission to. There were people around me saying, oh, you can't get into Howard, you shouldn't go there, try ACC, this, that, what about the money? And I said, I'm going to do it. The people that were meant to be in my life fell into place and were able to help me. I want to give a shout out to Caleb Davis, okay, who is also from Austin, and he went to Howard and completed his journey. He really picked me up and said, let's go, and he helped me get there. So I'm thankful. So I got accepted to Howard. I went to Howard, and I fought every step of the way. Anytime I had a challenge, I said, I'm going to do it, period. You know, again, because God gave me the permission. So the wisdom that I learned after graduating is that you have to position yourself in stillness when it's time. And you have to really go inward and listen to this heart. You know, this heart space is very important, because I really believe that that's where the Spirit of God dwells, the voice at least, because it influences the decisions you make, you know, and your tenacity to keep going, even when everything outside of you is telling you this ain't for you. What is this saying? So that's my piece of wisdom to give to the young people. At some point, whether it's tonight, tomorrow, I say you do it tonight, right now, after we're complete. Turn off your phone, flip it over on the bed, do whatever you have to do to just have yourself and just be still. And don't worry about what is outside of you. You know, whether your family is in turmoil, whether you don't have as much as somebody else, maybe you graduated high school and you didn't go to college, but you're thinking about it. Whatever your heart is telling you, and it'll speak to you quietly, but you'll know the voice because it's strong. When it speaks to you, run with it. I'm telling you, that's how we have to do it. And to go to your question, I feel grateful, you know, that the Creator put me in this time and place to achieve what I'm doing. But at the same time, I know that it's very natural, and it's not necessarily something that hasn't happened before. And I study the footsteps of people like Miss Ida B. Wells and how she trailblazed. You know, she was the one who went to these sites of lynchings and tallied them, and tallied the so-called justification of them. You know, these men, women who were being lynched from a tree, it wasn't for the reasons that people were saying. Not everybody, at least, you know. So she wrote that down, and she had the strength and the power to do that. So when I say that I know it's natural, it's already in me.
That's right.
You know, I
That's
studied
right.
the footsteps of Oprah Winfrey. She has a story.
Yes.
You know, and she did what she had to do. She listened to her heart to keep going to get where she had to go. Miss Mary McLeod Bethune, you know, it's in me. So again, that's a message I leave with the young people. Black women, you are everything.
That's right.
You are
Absolutely.
everything.
Absolutely.
Even though everything outside of you may be telling you you are nothing, let me tell you, there's a lot of people who want to be like us and
That's
look
right.
at us and wonder, how do we have this mystery to us? You know, it's just who we are.
That's right.
So step into it. Period. You know, we really don't need anything else besides what we already have. You know what I'm talking about, okay?
Oh, yeah.
I used to have a lot of extra stuff too, but I had to let a lot of that go so that I could just travel light. You know, and just flow with the wind and
Just
go.
travel light.
Travel.
Yeah.
You know, when you going somewhere,
You
it's
need a
a
lot of
workout.
baggage, huh?
You know what I'm saying? To have your baggage with you,
So
but you
you-
don't need that.
So you float. That's right. That's what queens do. They float.
Absolutely.
That is awesome.
Float and float on your way. You know?
So the last question I got for you. How do you want to impact the world?
I want to impact the world by being brutally honest. By being brutally honest.
Man,
Shake it up, man.
My
It's
first
real.
name, Alexa, means the protector and defender of
Come
all
on now.
mankind.
Come on.
My middle name, Imani, means faith. And to me, having faith and protecting what this is, it's all encompassed in truth. You know, because all of this is real, you know what I'm saying, but what am I going to do with what I'm receiving? And I want to be honest about what I'm receiving. You know, so that's my purpose.
Let's go. How old are you, young lady?
I'm 22.
All right.
Oh, you so beautiful. Hey, so understand this before we take that question further. Your segment is gonna be replayed. We're gonna break this down. I need you back on here.
Yes.
Because we're doing some more things with young women, and you so powerful. God put it in my spirit. She gotta come back.
Yep.
She gotta be back.
Yes.
So just know this door is permanently open for you. So whenever you ready, come back. I love you. I'm proud of you, man. You're gonna inspire and uplift a lot of young ladies, and
That's
you're
right.
gonna even inspire a lot of grown women.
That's
to
right.
do
Yeah.
better. I love you. Shout out to your family. Prayers for your family. Shout out to Jock Gordon and what you doing and how you been a blessing. God gonna continue to bless you, Pastor. Keep grinding.
Darwin,
Yeah. How do I want to impact the world?
how do you want to impact the world, brother?
I mean, one of the things that I'm doing basically is with these two weapons. One is that she talked about with the pen, and one is with this oratory. Because one of the things that
Real boy, you love
you
it.
know,
Real, boy.
that we often don't share, and my brother knows, you know what I'm saying? God said that, you know, the most gracious created man and taught him the Quran and then gave him speech and intelligence. So this is what we have to use, you know, and that's what's called the knowledge, the ilm of bayan.
I'm cold with it, though.
Yeah, so that's what that's called. I mean, the bayan is that speech and intelligence. You know what I'm saying? That potency, that fluency, that effectiveness. And so, you know, I use these gifts and these talents to inspire people, to impact people, to move them. And that's basically what I'm doing because, you know, my father used to always talk about a legacy. And so what are you going to leave, you know what I'm saying, on this planet? What's going to be here after you're gone? Because cities have become cemeteries and cemeteries have become cities. And these are the kind of things that, you know, we have to really think about. And so, you know, when I open and say that, you know, I'm a fifth generation Austinite, that allows me to walk through history with the ancestors. And so that's why I honor them because, you know, when we talk about people, even today, there are people who have never owned property. You know what I'm saying? And so for my family to own property for 125 years, that is significant because, you know, there was a time when you couldn't vote if you wasn't a white landowner or property owner. So for black people coming out of Reconstruction to own land and property, because land is power. It always has been and always will be. And so that's what I'm leaving, you know what I'm saying, is the legacy to where you'll know that I was here.
That's right.
You know.
Man, that's
Bites.
man,
And understand
He's
this,
straight
after
up
each
body
one of
slam.
them that talk, the door is permanently open.
Yes.
But when Bobby Mack and myself started the locker room, our vision was to bring solutions to the community. So, Mr. Hamilton, you are welcome, and we need you back because some of the main issues you deal with are plaguing our community. So I feel like you are a problem solver to that.
Yes.
We're going to need your insight in your direction, my brother, because you touched on something. You said something. You said spend and use your resources.
You have to use and spend your privilege, whatever that is.
Man, I got to get
You
that on the
understand what I'm
shirt.
saying? Because even as black people, you know, one of the things I tell my peers, you know, you can't speak truth to power if you don't believe you have any.
That's right. Come on now.
You know what I'm saying?
Boys get
So
busy on the
even-
locker room, man. The locker room keep heavy
So
hitters.
even for
Heavy
example,
hitters, boy.
for example, I mean, activist organizers, we need food. You understand what I'm saying? So if you a cook, a chef, use and spend your privilege. You know what I'm saying? Lend that to the people that can use it. I mean, these are the different levels of privilege. Privilege is nuanced. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about white people and white privilege. We got some privileges too.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And each person has to use and spend their privileges.
That's 1,000 right there, boy. That's 100, man.
Bro, look how he look. That boy got loose today, boy. Boy, I'm surprised you didn't put Minister Muhammad show out there today because he
chewed it up,
oh my
boy.
goodness, boy.
Every week.
I love you, sir.
I love y'all too.
And we love
Love
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for dispelling myths.
Yes.
Thank you all for honoring us with the opportunity to come.
You thought I what?
On the shit. I already knew.
You already knew.
I was just waiting.
You already
Come, Ray called me. Ray called me.
I was taking notes and everything.
Yeah, Ray called me when all this was in the mix, and Ray said, "Well, you know, we gonna have to bring Rob." I said, "Shoot, what? We can't do it without him.
We can't do it without it."
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Words
Yes,
exactly.
sir.
So,
Well, you know, me personally, the Quran says, "And He it is that created the heavens and the earth in 6 periods, and His throne is ever established on water." Well, we know that part of the earth is 139,685,000 square miles of water.
told y'all that again.
But scientists have plummeted the depths of the sea, and they ain't found no velvet throne, no gold throne with velvet on it. So where's this throne that's going to be established on water? I want to be a willing and to be a willing vessel or a willing sacrifice to allow the throne of power to be established on the water that my brain sits in. And then I want to participate in being a change agent like that prophet in the Bible in the valley of the dry bones, where he spoke to the bones and they rattled. He spoke and they rattled. He spoke and they rattled. And he went back to God and said, "Man, I'm speaking. They rattling, but they ain't getting up." So he said, "Well, prophesy unto the winds." And then the bones rose up and became not an exceedingly great choir, not an exceedingly great hood, but an exceedingly great army, right? So I want to be a change agent to help people to recognize their value and their worth and to go become the greatest version of themselves. And if I can do that in my lifetime with everybody that I touch, if I can motivate them to be greater than me, then I can say that I accomplished something in my lifetime. And so I'm not here, I don't believe, to be anything other than who I am, but to help people to become who they're supposed to be. And so, again, I'm not necessarily a leader, I'm a servant. And a lot of times when you serve, you don't get to choose the way you serve.
Science.
You're chosen to serve. And so sometimes we don't like it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but when you put yourself in this type of position, it is what it is. And so I'm just honored and I'm humbled, you know, anytime that I can speak a word, because I feel like this is what I was born to do.
Right.
And when I feel like this was what I was born to do, then I pray that I can die doing what I was born to do.
Right, you go.
And so but I want to be an example and not somebody that just talks. So if you can feel anything from what I'm saying, it's not just because I'm saying it, it's because I'm striving to live it.
You living it. There you go. So before we get out of here, I'm gonna let each person talk about where you can follow them, where the school is, where you can reach them again. We're gonna close out another edition of the Locker Room. I'm gonna let B-Mac close it out, but as we go down the line, ladies first, talk to them. Where can they're gonna see you again on the Locker Room first and foremost, but go ahead.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter, and that's Alexa Imani, ALEXAIMANI.
You can follow me on Twitter at DHAM629. Facebook, full name. Facebook page, 25 years later.
You can follow me on Twitter at BROMUHD.
Where's the school located, man?
The school is, we have two campuses. One is located at 6414 Northampton, across from Bertha Means, Sadler, and then 3613 Bluestein Drive, which is back in the hog pen back there behind old Norman back there. And we've been in existence for 21 years, and we're not perfect, but we're growing, we're developing, and it is what it is. But my hope is to see other people to erect institutions that will serve the needs of our people.
That's right, man.
You see all these other schools going up, but you don't see our faces populating them. You see other faces. I don't have no problem with that. But we can't get angry at other people for doing. That's what I'm saying. I don't have a problem with it.
Right.
But we need to.
We need to. There you go.
And that's a whole nother story. But we need to come back to that old time religion and get some of these properties where the Sunday school venues are sitting dormant Monday through Saturday and get people to start these schools back up in here so we can have control of our education and so we can feed our young people and not have to go down and beat the doors down of all of these school boards and say, you ain't doing this, you ain't doing that. And they just saying, well, hell, you keep bringing them to me.
Yeah, right. That's true.
If there was only one burger joint, Burger King, and they can treat you bad, and you don't have nowhere else to go.
You gonna keep eating them,
right? But people tell us all the time when they dissatisfied, I'll just take them out because they got somewhere else to go. But we're being left in these landfills that they call schools, and we're not being attended to, and we're coming out of them. And we're not being productive. We're not being, unless you have somebody that can sow into you like they sold into our sister here, you know. But education is being devalued. It's becoming a for-profit piece, and I mean, you know, these boys ran. I can't speak enough about my children. I'll go on for another 5 hours on y'all, but when I saw how they were eating that stuff, I mean, not physically, but
I hear you.
Man, I want to be a change agent.
Okay.
He said he's ready to go. Hey, man, I told y'all every segment is always a part two, huh? That's what the Locker Room do. B-Mac, talk to him and end our week, baby.
I hope y'all appreciated the show. Like you said, when we reach one, we teach one. But if we can reach many, we're going to reach plenty because it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Good night.
Locker Room, baby. We'll see y'all next week, baby.